or whatever.
Reverse lying.
Have I convinced people of silly things? I'll tell you that I worked on a TV show. There's a TV show on Channel 2, I think, called FBI, and I got a sticker from it, just for working on the crew. And so I did one time recently just pull my jacket open because I had the sticker on it and say FBI. So that's...
I'm super stoked. So let us bring out our wonderful, fabulous, super talented, and Renaissance man guest, Michael C. Maronna.
Thank you, Kid Cadet. Thank you, Danica. Hey, what's up?
Hi. So wait,
Nice
what makes
hat.
somebody? Oh, thank you so much. This old thing. But what makes somebody a Renaissance man?
Well, because he does everything.
Painting?
I was like, is it an era? I'm not too familiar.
We'll get into it.
Sculpting.
Do you sculpt?
Posing nude.
I did. There you go. I just made I got a kit that was like make your own Christmas ornament. So I did do a little bit of sculpting very recently. I stuck my son's hand into it to make a handprint. Okay, now mom's gonna know what her Christmas present is. But
it's okay.
If mom's on Twitch, we're actually winning the culture war. So that's a good thing.
Fair enough. All right, Danica.
All right. Well, we're going to start off with a series of questions because I'm a huge dork and I have to ask you about the favorite thing of mine that you've ever been in.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to talk about slackers for a little while.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about One Life to Live.
That's her second favorite.
So
we'll get there.
So my first question is, have you ever tried to seed of doubt anyone?
I think that we have all used Dave techniques in the past. I don't know if it's as overt as that, but do you think that that's like people love to use the term gaslight these days? Do you think seed of doubt is gaslighting?
I think it's just over convincing.
I have definitely tried the seed then.
Yeah, I was going to say gaslighting has more of like a more negative connotation. Yeah. Right, where I feel like seed of doubting is just like, you're saying, I'm a flight attendant or whatever.
Reverse lying.
Have I convinced people of silly things? I'll tell you that I worked on a TV show. There's a TV show on Channel 2, I think, called FBI, and I got a sticker from it, just for working on the crew. And so I did one time recently just pull my jacket open because I had the sticker on it and say FBI. So that might be a little bit too much like my character.
You're in the FBI?
I am a flight pilot attendant. I think
you got to work on the routine a little first.
I'm an airplane pilot.
Fair enough. I don't know if I believe that, but
we'll work on it.
We'll work on it. Sure. It doesn't always work over streams. It's better in person.
Fair.
So then, my next question is, what's your go-to karaoke song? Is it "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain"?
I haven't done as much karaoke as some people in the world, as most people in the world who are karaoke fans. And now with the pandemic, I feel like I'm not as into closed rooms as everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe remote karaoke is tough over streams as well. But the last karaoke song I did was probably something from a montage. Something from an 80s movie, like something from an 80s movie.
Oh my.
So I have not done. It's probably tough to find "She'll Be Coming Around a Mountain" in those big old books, right? You're flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping. There was a really big book in the last one I went to.
Challenge accepted, because now I'm going to sing that the next time I karaoke, whenever that might be, months from now.
Yeah, keep it in the back of your head. That's pretty good. Thank you,
there.
Danica. Good suggestion.
All right, so how about this? What show do you think would have made for an interesting crossover with Pete and Pete?
Oh, I think
and this could be anything.
I think for sure Keenan and Kel.
Yeah.
Because we could have been like brothers meeting each other, and we each could have picked a brother to do whatever with, to have each of our like separate plots in that episode. So I think a Keenan and Kel episode would have been pretty fun for us.
What about something like super weird, like something maybe from now that would be like super strange?
Ooh, of a kid's show?
No, not necessarily.
I would say something like Modern Family, not FBI, because I'm an FBI agent, and that would be too weird.
Oh, you are.
There you go. But I would be able to fly my own plane there to the show, so that might be part of it as well. Probably something like Modern Family.
Yeah, I've never watched the show.
Congratulations, you live in the real world. There's so much other pop culture to be consuming.
I'm too busy watching all the retro throwback stuff. I don't know. I'm stuck in the 90s. But okay, do you think that Pete and Pete could or should be rebooted for like a new generation of Nickelodeon fans?
I'm going to actually go with what Chris Columbus said about Home Alone recently, where they're talking about rebooting it, and say, why bother?
Mm-hmm.
You could not. It's very specific to its time and place. And if you try to recreate it, you kind of be taking it away from, even if you tried, you'd be taking it away from what made it awesome. But you could always play a cool older brother.
Yeah. There you go. The
older
coolest.
cousin.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay.
That's very, very kind.
Okay, so I know we were going to ask a little bit more about the Home Alone thing, but I think we kind of like covered this reboot. Okay, so another really big debate, Michael, that's kind of been going around about Home Alone is if pizza and milk go together. I see this in all the forums.
My son is 4 years old, and he has had pizza with milk a couple of times, like on Friday nights. And I'm just like, what? I have to stop myself from suggesting that he watched that scene. We have not watched too much of my acting work. I think he's ready yet. He'll be there soon. But I myself have not combined pizza and milk since probably ever. I don't think I would ever do that. And when you say it, I kind of remember what it smelled like filming that scene, because there were very hot lights and it was very real milk. So it just started to stink. It just started to stink. And, you can't keep pizza perfect forever.
Fair. But like, as someone with lactose intolerance, I'm very triggered by this whole idea.
Oh, you would. I think you would become downright lactose hateful at this point if you had been around this scene and smelled what I smell.
How many like slices of pizza did you have to actually eat? Do you remember?
We did a lot of takes, and they're I feel like it took over a day to shoot the whole scene.
A day of pizza?
That now, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound so bad.
It does. It depends where the pizza's from, though.
Today was International Men's Day, but then tomorrow maybe we could have a day of pizza.
Ooh. Let's celebrate, except for Danica, because she can't have gluten. So
and you don't tolerate lactose, so between the two of you, you split it, right? You take the cheese and you take the.
We did that growing up. Yeah,
that's really cute.
We've been best friends since we were like 4.
Yeah, so
very cool.
Even growing up, I would just eat the cheese off, and she would just eat.
I would have the bread.
That is classic. And then you have the ones where you just like take the one bite and all the cheese comes off and you're just left with saucy bread. It could happen organically sometimes. So that's great that you found a way to make it out.
That's why we're best friends, because we share pizza.
Cool.
Cool. Traditional way. Anyway. Kind of still going in the same vein. What is the most important thing you've ever forgotten when leaving home?
Oof. In my apartment where I am right now, I met my new neighbor I met my next door neighbor like not really that long after he moved in, because I forgot my keys. That my neighbors who had lived there previously, I had gone into their apartment, out their fire escape, and into my window on the fire escape at least 4 times in 3 years, and that's how I met my new neighbor. I think the keys are the most important thing. But hey, if anybody wants to break in, talk to my neighbor.
Okay, so you're in New York, right?
I am in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. Okay, so we can. Okay. I mean, we have a couple millions of chances to
I was
figure
going to
out
say,
what it
just pick a fire escape and it may be the one.
Cool.
is. Fair enough. Okay.
Like an
Okay.
urban
Lighting
Clarissa.
fun.
An urban Clarissa. I love that so much. Okay. If you were on, let's say, like a Big Brother / real world scenario, and you had to live in a house with some of your former co-stars, who
Okay.
would you like to cohabitate with?
Ooh, like just be bunks, like just 2 in a room, or I had to live with like 8 people in a room.
I think real world was like 7 people, but in a house. Like you don't have to necessarily like share the room. You can have your own space, but you're sharing the house.
Oh, okay. Well, I think Devin Rattray from Home Alone would have been an incredible laugh to be a roommate with. Catherine O'Hara for sure. I would live with Dan Tamberelli, my little Pete fake brother, just because it'd be weird not seeing him at this point. We hang out for a long time. And probably Judy, my mom. Wow, 2 brothers and 2 moms from 2 different shows. Judy Graff, who played my mom from Pete and Pete, a real sweetheart. So that's the like domestic stuff out of the way. And who else would be in the house? We had a lot of cool guest stars over the years too, so I could probably throw in a wild card like Juliana Hatfield, or if you wanted to keep it 90s, or Janine Garofalo for that matter.
Love it. Fair. Very fair. You mentioned Catherine O'Hara. I will say that is one of the shows Danica and I are watching is Schitt's Creek.
Sure.
That one.
Oh.
Sure. I've gotten like 3 seasons deep and it has really made me laugh. Annie Murphy is really is the standout for me just because of this crazy, like the frown smile that she does really just melts me. It's kind of like,
say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Her frown smile is really good. And I feel bad for, the waitress has a very funny name at the cafe. Twyla, because she's the actual Levy's daughter, and they did not cast her as the daughter in the show. But I think her role is very good as well.
Yes, yeah. I agree. And one of my favorite things about that show is that they were given the opportunity to have a beginning, middle, and end, which isn't necessarily, given these days. So
I think like 3 or 4 seasons deep, so I'm not all the way through it.
Yeah,
but I have all
no spoilers.
I've all fallen off on my watching in general.
I'm assuming you're probably having to watch a lot more. Your son is 4, you said, right?
Yeah.
So you're probably watching a lot more of the 4-year-olds type of television.
Lately, still going strong up through Thanksgiving. He's obsessed with Garfield and Friends Halloween to the point where he's like he's memorized the songs in the show.
Oh, I know
and he was reeling off like the one-liners where Garfield is dissing Odie today in TJ Maxx walking around. He's sitting on my shoulders reeling off one-liners going, Odie's so ugly to have to get 2 of them to get uglier. Ba-dum-bum. And he's doing the ba-dum-bum.
Oh my! So you're raising a pretty epic kid.
If he's a little George Carlin, that wouldn't be so bad.
Aw, is he already using the dirty words or
not using any of the 7 words so far? And I actually would like to cut back on any like dangerous material I consume around him, just so I don't teach it. He could learn it from real people as opposed to from videos.
Fair enough.
Oh my. All right. So we're going to transition in speaking about your transition to being a lighting tech.
Okay.
So that's something that I am super, super fascinated with. So my day job usually is a theater director. So, and I think lighting design, lighting tech, and sound tech are the only jobs in theater I have not held. I've done sound design, but
they're super important. I mean, as you notice, doing all the other jobs, right?
Yeah. I cannot tell people because, usually I also teach university level. So, the most important thing is to be well-rounded and not just knowing acting methodologies, is that you have to understand and respect the foundation that every single person on your production staff is doing. Because if you don't bother being an actor.
Respect. It's got to be there for all the different departments. It's true.
I guess. Sorry, go ahead.
I got a good look into feature filmmaking, working on Home Alone 1 and 2 because they were both big budget movies that had that took the time to do lighting in a big way. And the cinematographer of Home Alone was the name of Julio Macat. I did not work with him again, but I think I met his son. I've met his son and worked with his son, who's worked in the camera department a few times
great.
after I did
That's
some
awesome.
lighting in New York. So it does run in the family. I'm not necessarily gonna drag my son into it, but I do bring him. I have brought him to the studios in the past, just to operate machines and stuff like that. And he loves just running up and down the ramps to the sets and things like that, which I'm sure was a huge violation for HBO, but they're such good sports. Thank you. But I really got more in depth with it on Pete and Pete, which was a much lower budget production compared to some feature films. It was still a higher budget than a lot of Nickelodeon shows just because it was shot on location on film as opposed to videotape. So they had to do a lot more lighting and considerations like that. So I just kept paying attention and asking questions. And I noticed that whenever I stopped working, the electrician started working. And whenever they started working, I stopped working. Wait, that was the same thing twice. But I just kept asking questions and, learning the equipment and stuff like that. And so when the show was done, I was still acting. I was thinking about going to school. And right before I did go to school, I had auditioned for this feature film with Debbie Harry called 6 Ways to Sunday. And I auditioned for it because I knew the director and I knew a few other people, but I didn't get the job. The job went to the title. The hero, main character, was played by Norman Reedus of Walking Dead fame, who looked exactly the same as he does today. He's the man who doesn't age. And I ended up driving the electric truck on that job. I learned almost not all I know today, but I learned a lot of the electrician trade on a job that I auditioned for the lead role and ended up driving the truck on. Had a lot of fun. At $50 a day, I think. Criminal rates, but
right. Fair enough.
It was a long time ago as well.
It's better than we'll pay you an exposure.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if that was a concept at the time. Thank gosh that there weren't too many influencers. But I learned a lot. It was much darker stuff than Pete and Pete, even though Pete and Pete did run a lot of different styles as far as comedy and family and stuff like that. 6 Ways to Sunday was like a heavy show with was a movie with murder and violence and stuff like that, and so you had to do a lot of different lighting and I learned a lot. And the gaffer who hired me had worked on Pete and Pete. The best boy had also worked on Pete and Pete. So it was
cool.
It was a very comfortable transition for me
Awesome.
into lighting work.
That's interesting that you say that, because I don't think that that's something that we think about a lot, is that a murder scene is going to have a different lighting and vibe than just like a regular happy family scene. That's very interesting.
Oh, sure.
That you say that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that there were different dramatic stings because on Pete and Pete over 3 seasons, we had so many different directors who went different ways, but we had a consistent lighting and camera crew in that time to shoot it. And in a feature film where I'm guessing it took us about 6 weeks to shoot altogether, you would go into a very heavy, stylistic. This one was very stylistic in that way. And to really have to learn that stuff was good. Learning different pieces of equipment that came in just for one shot or whatever.
Yeah. And Danica, before you get to your second question, we have a question from the crowd. Why does Dr. Pepper come in bottles?
He was banned from coming in cans, I think, is the reason.
Cool, great. Yeah. All right, Danica, second half of your question.
That's a great segue to continue talking about this.
That is hilarious.
I was also going to ask, what do you enjoy most about being a lighting tech, and have you done or are you interested in doing any design work?
I like going into different places and solving problems. As far as the last show I've been working on consistently has been this Apple TV show called Dickinson, starring Haley Steinfeld and none other than Toby Huss, who played Artie, the strongest man in the world, on Pete and Pete. So it's been a nice reunion in that way. But there's very specific problems to solve on a job like that, which takes place in the 19th century and doesn't ever feature any light bulbs on camera. So we're always trying to do different lighting things there that you couldn't do in a show like I've been working on, like The Good Wife or The Good Fight, where it takes place in modern day and you do very standard solutions for things like that. So I really like learning about new equipment. It's been changing so rapidly the last 5 years as far as LEDs getting into things, and you'll notice that coming over from theater as well, that we've sort of been late to adopt that stuff, and it's been in the theater for a bit longer, and it's nice that we're taking some of those techniques. And it kind of happened. I also worked in the theater, and I worked on Broadway a little bit, but I was much younger. I'm talking late 80s, early 90s, and so I don't think I was quite there as far as asking questions and learning about lighting in that time. So it's been good to learn about that stuff from people that I work with now.
Awesome. Dr. Pepper Guy did not like your answer. He said no.
I don't know. Well, if he's in Texas, he can probably go ask the good doctor himself, I think.
All right. And Danica, do you have one more thing?
And also, so have you been continually working as a lighting tech during the pandemic? And if so, what has that been like for you?
Okay, I was working up until I think St. Patrick's Day was probably my last day. No, the weekend before St. Patrick's Day was my last day. It was Friday the 13th of this year.
Of course it was.
I was working on a sexy vampires pilot from the people behind Riverdale. If you, yeah, it could be very good. It took place. We used a location that I've sort of recognized from all these other movies and TV shows over the years, because it's just a popular place to film in New York. And the way we dropped it and left felt very abrupt. I took about 5 months straight off, and then did a little work in August and went back to work full time in September, working on FBI, and took out my sticker.
Of course. And the vampires are okay. We just want to check in on the vampires.
I'm not sure how they're going to treat the pilot. I'm not sure how they, if they were able to shoot all the elements that they wanted to in that time frame that the pandemic imposed on them. But so I was off for a solid 5 months, and then a little smattering after that. And yeah, it was a heavy time. And you found out about people going and doing other things, starting other businesses or just leaving town or stuff like that. So I'm kind of scared about what may come next, but it's good that some people are back to work. I wish everybody would be able to go back to work, but I don't think anybody should be forced to go back to work before it's safe.
Yeah.
Agreed. Definitely. And I feel like a lot of people, have to adapt. Like, Danica and I met you at a Comic-Con, and obviously that isn't something that's happening now. And so Danica and I, we're doing this online, and it's been great because it's given us the opportunity to connect with people like you that we may not get to see at every convention and get to chat with because, you're busy, you're working. And now, we've gotten to chat with people all over the world. So it's, it's been I'm trying to find the silver lining in all of it. So
it's a blessing and a curse, but we're trying to make the best of it. I I record a podcast called The Adventures of Danny and Mike with my fake TV brother, Dan Tamberelli.
Yes.
And we've been conducting the podcast for the past few months in a similar way. We haven't been streaming. I've been trying to sort of nudge the fellas towards Twitch a little bit.
Nudge.
We've been recording it in the same way from the privacy of our own homes and virtual backgrounds.
Oh yeah, I've loved your backgrounds. They've been fantastic.
Thanks.
Very curated and beautiful.
Really big is maybe.
They've been fun. They've been fun to do. But there's always, technical glitches at the same time. And
that's what makes it fun. Who doesn't love a good technical glitch?
I do miss, my computer will occasionally suggest memories for you from this time. And, there's pictures from Pensacola, from the Comic-Con, or from some other comic book convention. And you say, oh, yeah, I remember that part of the job that's not happening anymore right now. Or is not happening right now. Let's not say anymore.
Yeah, I think the prediction, and I am seeing Comic-Cons like popping up here and there, smaller ones, but I think the prediction is by next year, I think we'll be, back together,
If I recall, you're a big wrestling fan. Do you think that the wrestling world has sort of handled the pandemic the right way as far as performers and testing and stuff?
So I don't want to say it's a loaded question, but so this past weekend, I did my first live wrestling event.
Okay.
And they did a really good job. Now, keep in mind, there was only maybe 70 people in the building. Everyone, was tested. They had their temperature checked.
That had a capacity previously, or would have had an audience of how many?
300 to 400, I would say.
Sure. We're dealing with reduced numbers like that.
Right. But the interesting thing, and I think what you're actually asking about, is programs like AEW and WWE that are run out of Florida.
The big one.
And they're going with no audiences. Towards the beginning, there was a lot of COVID scares, it was pretty rampant. A different person had it every day. Now it seems like it's a lot more under control. It's more like a bubble because it's all in one location. And if they are still getting the COVID scares, they're not really reporting on it as much. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of entertainment, I think that the sports is something that's kind of been keeping most people sane, getting to watch it. Mm-hmm. So in terms of mental health, getting to still watch things that you enjoy, I think it was good to have the wrestling. In terms of health, probably not the best idea to have kept it going because it was, still going on during a really scary time.
Sure. When
there was a lot more, but I don't know. I'm not Vince McMahon. I don't know what's going on in his head. So
it's tough to say, balancing that sort of give the people what they want and give the people what they need, which is we need to stay home and stay safe. I don't know if you are making Thanksgiving plans coming up, but I'm trying to keep it very small and not travel too far. Ordinarily, I'd probably go to Jersey or out to Long Island to an uncle's house and see grandma and stuff like that. And my grandma just turned 90 this year, and
happy birthday!
My mom had gotten T-shirts printed up and stuff like that, and we were planning to go big, and instead, it ended up being a drive-by on her dead-end street in Brooklyn, sort of celebrating from distance. And I haven't seen her in a while, and I really miss her. But at the same time, I'd like to stay sane about it and safe at the same time. So I'm probably just going to do a very small Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah, us too. I mean, shout out to your grandma. She's a longtime watcher of this program. So shout out to your grandma.
Big talk culture head. Big talk culture.
Loves it. Let's circle back because we're getting a couple questions from the audience here.
I saw the last one. I'm thinking that they would have done, if you recall, there was like a Trouble with Teddy episode where they did Mexican night, and he had gotten custom sombreros printed up for everybody. So I think that they would be doing a lot of theme dinners and stuff like that. Like it would be mom's chance to shine, and hopefully the two brothers would get into arts and crafts and stuff like that. And dad would not go like the Dad in Homeland in the garage type of thing, just not go crazy, find some other way of his outlet.
Okay. And then here's another question from Steve. Which musician did, I guess yourself, find starstruck when you were filming?
Juliana Hatfield, Iggy Pop were probably the big two for me. There was an unfortunate deal where X equals Y, which is a very Ellen heavy episode in the third season, featured a real killer lineup, and I did not get to meet Gordon Gano of the Violent Femmes just because I wasn't in any scenes that day. So I was just back home in school, and they were shooting just across the river in New Jersey. But yeah, there were some very cool brushes with fame there.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of to go back on stuff that you've worked on the production side, like you've gotten the chance to work on like Marvel shows, Sex in the City. I want to know, which Sex in the City girl do you most relate with? Like, are you a Miranda?
Ooh, I would have had to watch the show more to know more about their natures. I think I did vaguely support Cynthia Nixon in her run for the New York governorship. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, fair enough. Danica, do you want to?
You did mention Thanksgiving, so I was wondering, being that it is a week away, what is your favorite Thanksgiving side?
So I had a love and hate with sweet potatoes for a long time, and for some people it's a side, and for some people it's dessert.
Right.
I had a time in the aughts when I would make sweet potato pie, and I was very proud of the sweet potato pie that I got from a girlfriend's mom, and crushed the ginger snaps to make the crust, and really went for it. But the way I was introduced to sweet potatoes as a kid was with marshmallows on top and walnuts, and I always picked the walnuts out. And I couldn't understand why they were there, messing up an otherwise perfect thing. But yeah, like a whipped fluffy sweet potato side was great. My mom was just reminding me that she brought an international student. She worked at a high school for a long time. She brought an international student to my big family Thanksgiving, and sat him next to me. So he only picked the foods that I picked, which was unfortunately pretty limiting for him, because I think I was a real like turkey and soda kid at that point.
Dr. Pepper, or no? Was it?
No, it's still the restraining order stops him from getting into New York as well. My great grandma, my 90-year-old grandma's mom, would make a heck of a turkey for, it seemed like 50 people, but she just had to make sure it was thoroughly cooked to the point where you could spill that can of whatever soda onto the plate, and the turkey would suck it right up. It was a dry turkey.
Oh, okay.
It was a dry turkey, but it was our dry turkey, and I really liked it. I'm coming around more on stuff to eat like that now. I'm eating a lot better, and realizing it's sort of happening just in time, because I have to get my son to eat those things too.
Yeah. Broccoli. Yeah.
Yeah. He actually likes his greens. He just doesn't like his leafy greens, but that's definitely more than I could say for myself at that point. At that age.
Yeah, same here. I survived on bagels, but I think that's a Jewish thing. I don't know. Okay. Danica, why don't we each ask one more, and then we'll go to the game.
All right. So I'm very curious about what it was like to be around, and I guess basically working with Bill Clinton when you did your TD Ameritrade stuff.
Oh, sure. The college years were, I kind of explored my haircuts, as you could see in my post Pete and Pete time. I was more liberated to cut my hair, you would say, than for when I was working for Nickelodeon and had to kind of keep it in one style for a long time. There it is. You can kind of like stick it on anything, and it brings you back to the 90s. So I was, getting mohawks, and I was dyeing my hair, and I probably had a little white boy dread with toothpaste or something like that type of thing at that point. In junior year, I was getting a little bit out there, and at that time, I had done the Ameritrade commercial, and then a sequel to it where I was jumping into the swimming pool and doing that type of squish stuff, and it liberated me to the point where I just didn't give a shit when I went to the White House.
You can curse, it's okay.
I called my college roommates from the White House, hoping it would pop up on the caller ID. You know what I mean? That you're calling from the White House. And and so I was in film school, and I had worked on a documentary about the airport that was directly next to my campus. And it turned out that they booked me a flight to DC going out of that airport because it was, super convenient. I went to the airport and went into the office of the fellas that I had known, the operations or whatever, from when we had worked on the documentary there, and bullshitted with them for long enough that I missed my flight. I missed my flight to one of the airports in DC, but there was another flight to the other airport in DC leaving like a half hour later. So I had my own little Home Alone style running through the airport sequence, but fail, in my case, and had to then get like a $60 cab ride from Dulles to the White House in rush hour traffic from a Russian taxi driver who just talked my ear off the whole time. It was very funny. Tried to get into the White House and got made fun of by a group of local teens that were outside they probably recognized my colorful hair or something like that, but they figured out who I was and was sort of ridiculed. I tried to step into the White House and like a voice came from the gate, like step back from the fence type of thing. And when I finally got in, there were dudes holding the largest guns I had ever seen in real life, and sort of an airport security style scanner for all your stuff to go through. I was already late because I had missed my plane and taken a later plane and a taxi and all this. So there wasn't really as much time for schmoozing, but they bought me sort of like wardrobe from the local Gap or whatever and hastily gave me some food that I didn't finish. I left my chicken sandwich on a chair, and the president's chocolate lab buddy ate my half of the sandwich that I had forgotten about. So then
he's also a longtime watcher. So shout out to you.
Shout out to Buddy.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Buddy, for the
we appreciate
memories. And most of the time doing the production was spent waiting for Bill Clinton to come from wherever part of the White House he was to where we were shooting. And
got it.
I was just sorry I didn't try to lobby him in that short time I had with him about nuclear disarmament. It was kind of a big thing at that point, and I guess it still is.
Very very true. That's so cool. That's amazing. I love that. But okay, so before I ask my last question, our friend Monica is saying that you are a Ween fan. Are you a fan of Ween?
Well, yeah. There's
this
is a Ween flag over my shoulder. I went to see them at one of the last times they played in Brooklyn, and it felt like the T-shirt was just a little too much. The T-shirt was probably like $35 or something like that, but the flag was good. I got the flag instead, and I mean, you can never have too many black T-shirts. Dan Tamberelli and I have had black T-shirt competitions for years now. Yeah, we're all there, and so I probably should have gotten a black Ween T-shirt, and I didn't. But that was a really good show. It was an evening with Ween, and I recently did a Ween podcast, which is probably called Weencast. It's in my timeline somewhere. The interview that we did, and yeah, they've changed. But I came around on the Mollusk. The Mollusk is probably my favorite album, which is if they have an oral history about it, sort of interviewing the fellas, and it just sounds like the perfect way to make an album, sort of go someplace and just write all these songs about the ocean.
It's so weird because a couple days ago we had a gentleman named Andrew Volpe, who is the singer for this band Ludo, and we were talking about Ween. I feel like
we asked him, what bands or groups do you think are underappreciated? And he said Ween, and we're like, oh my God, yes.
It was a band that I found from it's Stubbs, eh? Ooh. Yes, the Mollusk is one of the best ever. It was a band that I found from going to school in Manhattan and going downtown and grabbing the free weekly newspaper. I think at that point I wasn't getting the Voice because you had to pay for that, but it was the New York Press, which was sort of a short-lived free like city pages or something like that for people who are elsewhere. I'm not sure if there's one. I'm not sure where you all are in I don't think there's one in Jacksonville or wherever it is.
I'm in Miami and she's in Houston.
Whoa. Yeah, I can't give any analogs to either of those cities, but
Drat.
They had a spread on Ween talking about their chocolate and cheese album in like 94. And I read the interview and I was like, holy shit, I gotta listen to this. It was probably my first like introduction to a band by a newspaper that I just read it and said, oh yeah, I should check these guys out, as opposed to some music magazine, or I was lucky enough to work on Pete and Pete and get tons of mixtapes from the people who directed, produced, and created it. So I had no shortage of very cool music to listen to and sort of 90s bands to explore. But that was one that I found on my own. They were a South Jersey, Philly band, very proud of being dirtbags. And to me, I concluded that they were sort of the death of music because they could do it in any style, and they loved Prince so much. These were just reasons to really like them. And so I saw them with Dave Martell, who played Teddy. After Pete and Pete was done, he went to Fordham University in the Bronx in New York City, and his college roommate's uncle was playing in the band with Ween's country tour. And so we were able to go backstage and meet Ween on that night when we saw the show. And Ween was totally not interested in us. They were talking to some girls. And I remember eating an Entenmann's chocolate frosted donut out of their green room food. And I found a yellow guitar pick on the floor in the green room. And I still have it today.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's so cool.
So I guess my my last question for you before we go into the game would be, obviously, a lot of people in our generation are really nostalgic for these 90s, 2000s, shows and films. But what are you nostalgic for?
I was thinking about wrestling before I came on, just thinking about how you were a fan of wrestling and stuff like that. And I think I'm nostalgic for the illusion. You know what I mean? I'm nostalgic for believing that not that stuff was real, because it was, you knew it wasn't real in some case. Oh, I don't want to spoilers.
No,
I'm nostalgic.
The concussions are very real.
I'm nostalgic for getting sucked into the world of a show or the narrative of something like that. But the reason that we're nostalgic for it is because we don't, we'd like to feel like we did at the age that we were when we saw it. And you're never going to feel the same way about a work of art, whether it's a TV show or a Renaissance painting or a sculpture. When you're you feel totally different about it depending upon what happened to you that day, what you did the day before, how old you are, where you are in life. So it kind of says that we miss being younger. And Pete, it was a lot about that in general. It was about the struggle between being a kid and sort of confronting adult responsibilities, or, adolescent responsibilities first, before any of the grown-up ones.
Fair enough. I think that's a really great answer.
Thank you. You have a nice hat, like I said.
I got into one of those Nickelodeon mystery boxes.
I would be tickled to ask Dan Tamberelli if he had ever gone out with a girl who suddenly popped on one of those, whether out on a date or in bed or just as an icebreaker.
Great.
Top of the morning to you. Or and if he likes it or not. Like if it's like if he's like, is it a plus or minus?
It would be a red and black checkered flag.
Fair enough.
Under our red and black checkered flag laws, we would have to take it away.
True. All right. So we have a game we're going to play, and this is a game of Would You Rather. There is no incorrect answers. This is whatever you're thinking, feeling. And if you want, you can elaborate on why you pick, or we can just move right along. So here we go. This is our game of Would You Rather. Danica, you want to go first?
Sure. So would you rather get a tattoo of Petunia or always have to dress like Artie?
I'm gonna go with always have to dress like Artie. I have a tattoo. I'm happy with my tattoo, but I think it just in my case it would be a little too on the nose if people were, seeing me and associating me with the show, but having a Petunia tattoo, it would be a little weird. But how about, can I turn it around on you two, or do I have to?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, what would you rather?
This is easy for me. I'd get the
No,
Petunia tattoo.
You would get the tattoo. Yes, Kid Cadet
I probably would. I probably would too.
If we don't already have it.
I love a good turtleneck, so it's a hard choice. So.
Yeah. Oh, winter Artie is definitely, it gives you more options than summer Artie. Summer Artie wore the singlet.
Yeah,
he
I don't
had
know if I can do that, but I do the winter looks.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
When we did the Pete and Pete the wrestling episode, which was called Pinned, where Endless Mike cuts out his own kidney to make weight to wrestle me, I got to look at the wrestling outfits catalog, and each one had a name. Like all the different uniforms had a name, and I just remember the one that was called the Caveman.
Ooh.
Yeah, because it had like just one strap across this one shoulder strap,
like Andre the Giant, kind of.
Well, I think Andre had the two, didn't he? No, you're right. He did have the one at one point.
Or I'm thinking of the Trash Man from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's one of the two. I get them mixed up.
The Caveman.
The Caveman. All right. Here's the next one. Would you rather live with Jason Segel in a cage or live with Jason Schwartzman and his eyebrows?
Ooh, I would have to say Jason Schwartzman, just because his mom is Talia Shire, and I would be picking her brain for anecdotes about The Godfather. They're both very sweet guys, I would have to say. Jason made me feel very welcome right away, and Jason also made me feel very welcome right away. They were both very nice to work with on Slackers. Good guys.
Awesome. Good to hear. I like hearing that people are friendly and kind. Kind
of on that note, I was curious that I didn't get to ask before, but do you keep in touch with anybody that you've worked with besides like Danny?
I have fallen off with a lot of them. I had a short reunion with Devin Rattray because I saw him. He was working on either The Good Wife or The Good Fight. It was one of those shows, but he had a small role in that. So I have his number and we should hang out, but it's kind of, pandemic time. And I did see Jason Schwartzman. He was a producer on Mozart in the Jungle when I was working on that a few years back. And we did have a small reunion talking about our kids. It was very nice.
Oh, cool.
So that's that.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Here's the next one. Ooh.
Oh, yes. So would you rather appear on What Would You Do or on Double Dare? Or rather, would you rather compete on
My brother and I had this all figured out when we were younger, that we would go on Double Dare and we would always take the physical challenge. It was a good thing to watch. And this was, before I had anything to do with Nickelodeon. We had already decided this. And then after that, I was like, oh, probably won't let me go on, but we know that we would win. Just Mark Summers said the weirdest freaking things. Like, this would be good for you, Kid Cadet. He would say, it's not milk, but a milk-like substance. And he never had to say, for you lactose intolerant folks. But that was like, there was always the sort of like gross, slimy thing that he had to reassure us was not actually milk.
Delish. I just always really wanted to pick that big nose, like so
Yes.
bad.
Oh, yes. To get the flag out of the snotty nose. Right? That did seem like something that would be fun. If it meant you would win like a remote control car or something like that. It'd be totally gross and worth it. Yeah.
The radio. But did you ever do any of the shows? Like, were you on Figure It Out?
We appeared on a Pete and Pete family Wrigley edition of Figure It Out Family Style, where Danny and Lori Beth were judges. And it was not the first time I met Lori Beth Denberg, but we had a good time hanging out that time. Danny and I think we stole Melissa Joan Hart's wallet that day, and I was amazed by that she had credit cards. I was like, oh, she's a grown up.
What are those?
Yeah, exactly.
And What Would You Do was just like a half second before my time, as far as I didn't watch as much Nickelodeon. I would see we didn't have cable So I did not see it as much. I saw it at friends' houses and stuff like that. So I didn't know What Would You Do as well as Double Dare because it made it onto network TV.
There. And that Pie-O-Matic, I don't know if
all my cable I had to watch at her house.
Yeah.
That's what best friends are for.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And we played Nintendo at Danica's house and watched cable at my place. All right, here's the next one. Would you rather be in a celebrity boxing match with Macaulay Culkin or be in a celebrity boxing match with your buddy, Danny Tamberelli?
I think that's easy. I would have to say Mac because I don't know if I would get the chance to box with him all the time. Danny, I can box whenever I want. I mean, I could just pop over to his neighborhood in Brooklyn and that I'm not going to name.
Pick another fire escape, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I could just swing from fire escape to fire escape and sort of drop in on him if I wanted to have a bit of fisticuffs. I know Mac does a podcast that I should probably guest on at some point, but
yeah, the bunny ears.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Okay. Yeah. And I know he's also dabbled a little in the wrestling industry. Have you seen any of the stuff that he's done?
I noticed that he did a few guestings on different programs, but like I said, I missed the illusion. I've sort of fallen away from wrestling. I used to watch wrestling back in the day, but my era was the era of WWF back in like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Coco Beware, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, and these type of guys. Whereas my brother sort of kept up with it into the Razor Ramon era of that type of. So I fell off just a little bit earlier is all. So it's
no worries. You're allowed.
It's good to see people. I was going to say it's good to see people are still working.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Here's the next one.
All right. Next one. Would you rather have to listen to Skater Boy for 24 hours straight, or have to listen to The Sign for 24 hours straight?
They did a cover version of The Sign for Slackers, as you remember. They did
the
sort of
arrangement,
the choral arrangement. Yeah,
I love that arrangement so
much.
kind of a weird sequence with the Dave and the steady cam, and he's sort of being he's standing on a dolly getting pulled in. So I really didn't listen to much Avril Lavigne at all as an angsty youth. There were just other angsty youth stuff to listen to. So I could probably do better with Skater Boy. I might discover something that I haven't. Whereas The Sign, I probably heard it enough times already that there's no more ground to explore there.
Our buddy Matt Riley, who is the bassist for Avril Lavigne, is
Thanks, Matt. Thank you for backing me up on this one. I'll try and get you those residuals on a streaming platform of your choice.
Love it. All right. Here's the next one. Okay, would you rather produce a documentary about
toe socks? Take him away. What's the second one? Pareidolia?
Pareidolia? Is that how you say it?
Pareidolia.
It's when you see faces and random things. Like, you remember when people were seeing Jesus on toast?
Yes, but you could also have that with eggs.
Yes.
Sure, Jesus eggs, whatever.
I think Pareidolia I would rather produce a documentary about that because, toe socks are not my thing. There's like a guy in my neighborhood that I know from working on productions, and I saw him out one time, like not on set, and he was wearing those Five Fingers toe sneakers, the ones that are. Oh, no. Yeah, they're just the skivats. I probably may have owned a pair of toe socks at one point, of those specific rainbow toe socks at one point, but I probably only put them on once or twice. And after my piggy's toe stopped fitting in them, after I washed them once, it was probably never going to happen again. So yeah, I followed
bring them back.
The Faces and Things Twitter account will occasionally come up with some gems of different faces in things. So that would be very interesting to me to produce a documentary about.
There you go.
Love that.
Right. Take them away. Oh, I can't look at them. Oh.
Next one. Here's more toes. Would you rather get hit in the head with a paint can?
Oh gosh.
Or step in a set of mouse traps?
Ooh. If it were very a la Home Alone or Home Alone. If it was cold enough, if it was freezing enough, you could have frostbite and not even feel the mouse traps. So I think I would go with that.
That's a good
I
solution.
would go with going outside in the snow, getting my feet all numb, and then running inside on some mouse traps. And then, I could just watch some video and be like, remember that? No, I didn't feel a thing, But the head, hitting the head with a paint can, I don't think a lot of people don't walk away from, even though, or maybe they just walk funny after that.
Or they're purple. I don't know.
It's a creative solution.
It has
Very creative.
It has a green cast to it, so it almost feels like a can of slime, like Nickelodeon's Revenge.
Delicious. I remember I got to eat slime when I went to Nickelodeon Studios. It was like applesauce or something.
Makes sense. I think they made one out of a vanilla pudding as well.
Yes, I remember the pudding, fruit punch flavored something, maybe. I don't know. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Here's the next one. Would you rather... Okay, this is the last one. Be a reverse centaur or a reverse merman.
These are some of my favorite images we've ever had.
The worst of both worlds. Gosh, reverse merman. You just you couldn't swim as fast as you wanted to because the real business with the fish is in the tail as far as propulsion. And reverse centaur, everybody would be expecting you to have a big penis, but you're just a normal human. So
it's lose.
I guess I would go with the sugar cubes as opposed to the possibility of getting pulled up by the Gorton's fishermen somewhere. So I'll go with centaur. I would rather be a reverse centaur.
Okay.
I love this question.
Get away with my get my prancing on wherever I might be. You remember Prancer size? You remember Prancer size?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What a scary concept.
Yeah. Can we get this image off the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
A reverse centaur wearing toe socks would probably be the worst of all worlds. Yeah. See, I blew your mind.
Oh, well, now we're going to have to do some Photoshop magic and see what we can
or some brain bleach.
Oh, man. So on that note, any final thoughts you want to leave us with here today?
Wear a mask, wash your hands, leave your family alone just for a little bit, and make up some fun calendars with your grandkids' faces in them for the grandparents. I think that's what else mom is getting besides the Christmas ornament. But
that's cool.
Yeah, call your family, tell them you love them, reach out to your friends, and strengthen those friendships because you're going to need them.
All right. And Danica, you want to go over the rundown of who we got coming up on the stream?
All right, here we go. We've got a full crazy lineup. So coming up tomorrow, we've got the Aces release party for Icarus Bell, who have so generously supplied our theme music. Very cool. That is the official release of that song is tomorrow with us. Tuesday the 24th, we have Brian O'Halloran from Clerks, who is a wonderful man. Friday the 27th, we have wedding dress designer Haley Page. Saturday the 28th, we have the other guitarist that we haven't already had on from Alice Cooper, who is Ryan Roxy. Tuesday, December 1st, we have Kevin McNally from Pirates of the Caribbean and lots of other things. And Tuesday, December 8th, we have Josh Segarra from Arrow. So we have a full crazy lineup, and that's not even all the way through December. That's just the next week and a half.
And we're working on getting Matt Riley back potentially for the 3rd of December. So we're going to make it happen. But thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Appreciate it. Thank you for taking me down nostalgia lane and making me confront the idea of a half centaur, a reverse centaur with toe socks on.
Fair enough.
I know what my nightmare will be tonight.
Fabulous.
We'll provide that.
And we're so thankful to have our first FBI agent on the stream. So let's
and a commercial airline pilot. We hit the ball out of the park with this one.
Combination. Yeah. You don't always see that together, so it's very rare.
Yeah.
Well, well, thank you so much again, and everybody. We will see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And like Michael said, wash your hands and wear a mask, and we'll see you guys real soon. Bye, everybody.